here on Beginning Guitar. We'll talk today about a few chord forms. Now, thus far we've talked about open chords, basic open chords like A, B7, C, D, E, F, G. And we've talked about minor chords. We've talked about bar chords, okay? And all of these have their place in the parts of American music and other countries as well. Today we're going to talk about forms of chords, and we'll start out by introducing the seventh chord. A chord, okay? A seventh means to take the middle A note and drop it 2 frets or 1 step, A7. You'll have that G open and that E open too. A B7 is the standard chord for B that we give. C7 is a C, and the tonic note C, just drop 2 frets, which means you play a C, but you add on that G string, you add a 3rd fret, that's C7. D7 is D, standard D, dropping that D note down 1 step or 2 frets, D7, E7, there's your middle E note, E7, F7th would be in a bar would be this, and then G7, standard G, there's your G note, drop it down, okay? So those are 7th chords. A lot of times that's a transitionary chord, and sometimes it's the heart of a song. It just depends on what's going on. So that's a 7th chord. Now we're going to talk about the forms of chords. There's a very popular form chord or form of a chord, B7 form. And it's found often in rockabilly music. Especially when it moves up to E, which means you're playing your B7 in the regular place. You move up to the 7th fret, and that's an E7, but it's done with a B7 form. B7, E7, and it's real popular to do an A7 in rockabilly like this. Put an alternating bass in there. Example of a B7, and very close to that is the 9th chord, B9. It's used in a form, especially in blues, D9, E9, okay. All right, and that 9th is played with a bar in the bottom 3 strings. That finger's on the D string and that one's there for an E9, okay? But that's very close to to a B7 form. Then there's a C7 form, which is very popular in country music and rock and roll, and and gospel. And when you move this one, like from C7 up to F7, which means moving up to the 6th fret, there are going to be times when you're playing that you're not going to want to sound certain strings, and this is one of those cases. Listen to what this E sounds like. See, it's very much a discord. So I'm going to mute those other two strings. This is also real common in Western swing music. And I'm muting a lot here. There's two ways you can mute the strings of a guitar. One is by laying your hand on there. The other one is by picking up, by releasing the tension that you're pressing on the strings. See where I'm getting those dead notes is just by letting go of the tension. And so one time in the Beatles early, maybe even the Quarrymen, they were questioned about why they didn't happen to have a drummer that day, and Paul argued with them that the drums are in the guitars, and what he meant by that was they had acoustic guitars going, and when you're playing solo, there are going to be times when you're going to do rhythmic, percussive type sounds like that right there for solo playing, and then you'll also use it in rhythm, and we also call that chop. A chop. C7 form. Okay, now we're going to move to an F form. Now, if you're in a band and you're playing guitar with some other musicians and there is a bass player present, it's going to be less necessary for you to play bar chords, because the bar chord gives you, of course, that important bass note. Okay, so if you have a bass player going, you may not have to have bar chords that much, unless it's just part of the nature of the song. So a lot of times we're going to play the bottom half of a bar chord, which is basically like your F. That's why we teach you that right up front in the F. And you're going to chop this a lot, and this is all through country music. This is all through rock and roll. It's all through gospel, all through jazz. It's all through the different types of music, rockabilly, folk, and you're going to chop this F form chord. That's a B flat for your information. C. And you want to chop that different ways, like you might chop it like this. Oldies music. And then you're going to use different additives to it, hammer-ons with other notes, like in Western swing. Let's see, 7 form. Full bar. And that's your F form right there. And you may do some hammer-ons like That's a 6. F form, and that's all over the place. You're gonna have that in rock and roll, and sliding a chord. All right, F form, chops, swinging a 7th chord. These are just some of the things that we do. And I hope you get these down. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. Please subscribe and click like on my YouTube channel. Thank you. Corky Alexander, over and out.